May our hearts, O God, beat with the desire to learn from the Scriptures. May we take in your word and chew on it until it is truly digested and a part of our very being, feeding that part of us where you reside to become words and wisdom when we are afraid. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. I'm thankful to Diana for last week explaining how the length of Advent used to be much longer, because the scriptures again today remind me of Advent. Isaiah's vision of a new heaven and new earth has echoes of the book of Revelation as well. Likewise, Jesus' prediction of the destruction of the temple, suffering, and persecution carries the same apocalyptic tone of Revelation of the end of time. We know that at the time the Gospel of Luke was written, the temple had already been destroyed. And in the book of Acts, we read stories that confirm the suffering and persecution of the early church as they endeavored to use their experiences as opportunities to testify, as Jesus instructed his disciples at the end of the passage we read today. Hearing me preach in the last few years, you may recall my aversion to preaching about apocalyptic texts. Ironic as that is, I have twice in the past 3 years preached the first Sunday in Advent, which traditionally, yes, begins with an apocalyptic text. I actually read today's lesson and thought, I've preached this before, but I had not. But what it did was it reminded me that the theme of what is to come, including suffering, remains prominent in Jesus' teaching throughout the Gospels. It is a theme that bears remembering and studying as we continually seek new understanding and new insights that deepen our faith and nurture our endurance for our times of difficulty. These texts, Isaiah, Revelation, the Gospels, and really much of the New Testament, were written to encourage communities in times of duress. The writers knew that there would be difficult times because that is how they experienced life. And truly, that is often the nature of living fully. We understand that in light of the times in which we are currently living and in the challenges that arise in our own lives. Whether we turn on the news each day or not, we may wake wondering what fresh horror we will hear about. Who is being targeted, or what benefits or rights are being taken away from those who are the most vulnerable in our nation. Ambient stress levels, and I don't know if you've heard that phrase, but ambient stress levels, the usually routine stressors of everyday life, are higher than ever before, leaving many people with more anxiety, fearing for the future of themselves and the people they love, leaving many of us feeling overwhelmed and wondering how we can ever do enough to resist the evil we see or to respond to the needs around us, leaving us more stressed about our own health or our to-do lists or family disagreements or personal affronts, leaving us longing for fresh infusions of hope. I have found hope recently in reframing what I've learned or thought I knew. What I am learning about who God is and what God is doing in the world. It's not just about what God has done, although that undergirds our understanding of God's faithfulness and God's reliability, but in what God is doing and what we can trust that God will continue doing. At the very beginning of Genesis, we learned that God created. God created the heaven and the earth and all that is in it. God created, past tense. Isaiah reminds us that God is continuing to create something in which we can rejoice. Be glad and rejoice forever in what I am creating. Do you feel the shift? God's work in creation, which we are very much a part of, thank you to Creation Care Sundays, continues. God is creating, working to bring to fruition the peaceable kingdom envisioned by Isaiah and intended from the very beginning of creation. A world where babies do not die in infancy and children do not starve, in which people routinely live long and full lives. A world in which people can enjoy the benefits of their own labor rather than seeing it underpaid or violently taken from them. Forgive me if you've already figured this out. I recently finished reading Richard Rohr's book, Immortal Diamond, and I do recommend it. He writes about how each of us carry the spark of God within us. Not just God's image. We carry part of God within us. And this struck me in a new way. A bit of God is inside me. We are created with a bit of God's DNA inside us. And now I'm hearing it and seeing it everywhere. God is present in our very being, in our longing for God. God is with us. That is the beauty of our creation. We are, in fact, co-creators with God, continually becoming and growing and learning, continually being created. And when we live faithfully, continually creating a more hopeful and just and healing world. Jesus' life, death, and resurrection are part of that continuing creation. God has embedded resurrection as a pattern in creation and in our relationships. Again, resurrection isn't a one-time event that one person did. Resurrection is ongoing. Resurrection continues in small ways as well as bigger ways, repairing and renewing the earth in areas of destruction, healing relationships. Who doesn't need that? Bringing hope out of suffering and despair. Again, thanks to our Diana here. Diana Butler Bass, in a recent interview that Diana shared, talked about the circular or spiral nature of time and how that's represented in the liturgical year. The year starts on the edges with Advent and continues toward the center, that is Easter. She likened the liturgical year to the pulsing of our beating hearts, going in and out and constantly moving, and I found that incredibly energizing. Reminding us of where we come from and where we are going. We begin at the edges in Advent. We move toward Easter celebration, the resurrection in the center, and then we go back out to the edges again, where we are now. As we learn what it means to live in this new community of love, in the community of faith that is being birthed. Our lives move continuously from the edges to the center and back again throughout the year. And we are remembered of that every time our heart beats. Some of us hear it in our ears. Anyway, others. It is a cycle that is constantly reminding us of who God is and who we are. God is a God who is constantly overcoming, constantly working to free God's people. A God who is seeking justice and peace for all. A God who is seeking connection with the hearts that bear God's DNA. That's all of us. A God who is calling and a God who is sending. A God who is abiding with us in our most difficult times, in our doubts and in our fears. God is with us. Author Anne Lamott often shares from her own struggles, and she wrote, "The opposite of faith is not doubt, but certainty. Certainty is missing the point entirely. Faith includes noticing the mess, the emptiness and discomfort, and letting it be there until some light returns. Faith also means reaching deeply within for the sense one was born with. The sense, for example, to go for a walk. The temple walls will be torn down, but that is not where God resides. Churches may close, but that is not where God is found. God is wherever God's people are found. The church is God's people, you and I, wherever we are gathered. Our job is to show up, to be light and to be witnesses, to share how we are experiencing resurrection. Bodies that are being healed, minds that are being calmed, love that is being renewed and love that endures. I see that, the examples of that all around me in this place. Continuing to show up and care for one another even when we are weary. Doors that are being opened even as we close other doors. Words and wisdom being provided as it is needed, just like Jesus said it would be. As Bishop Bonnie shared at convention, courage originates in the heart. Take heart, Jesus says, you will not perish. God is making a way through the struggle and is creating something new. Resurrection is continuing, even as the leaves fall and the days shorten, as daylight fades and we wait for the dawn. Amen.
Amen. Amen.